Did you hear the mountain lion last night? It was dark and Jake was standing over me dressed in camouflage. I'd been hunched over a lot of weird stuff had happened by this point. Those pages I skipped were actually pretty eventful, but too late. It was dark and Jake was standing over me dressed in camouflage. I'd been hunched over on a cooler by the ashes for a number of hours, reading and waiting for the guys to get back from wherever they'd gone. I told him I hadn't heard anything. Bub came up from behind, also in camo. In the middle of the night, he said, it woke me up. Jake said it sounded like a little bitty, like a baby crying. Like a little bitty baby, said Bub. Jake was messing with something at my feet in the shadows, something that looked alive. Bub dropped a few logs onto the fire and went to the Chevy for matches. I sat there trying to see what Jake was doing. You got that lantern, he said. It was by my feet. I switched it on. He started pulling frogs out of a poke. One after another, they strained in his grip and lashed at the air. Where'd you get those, I asked. About half a mile that way, he said. It ain't private property if you're in the middle of the creek. Bub laughed, his high, expressionless laugh. Bub had this laugh that was so weird. He would go, ha, 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 ha. His face was totally still. He had a hard past or something. Bub laughed his eyes. These ain't too big, Jake said. In West Virginia, well, we got ones the size of chickens. Jake started chopping their bodies in half. He'd lean forward and center his weight on the hand that held the knife to get a clean cut, tossing the legs into a frying pan. Then he'd stab each frog in the brain and flick the upper parts into a separate pile. They kept twitching, of course, their nerves. Some were a little less dead than that. One in particular stared up at me, gulping for air, though his lungs were beside him in the grass. Could you do that one in the brain again, I said. Jake spiked it expertly and grabbed for the next frog. Why don't you stab their brains before you take off the legs, I asked. He smiled. He said I cracked him up.